Thank you for watching Gaming for Fish today while we play Hell's Kitchen in Roblox with Gordon Ramsay. I'm sure it's going to be an awesome, fun, incredible experience. Let's see how wild this is and if this game is worth playing or not. Thanks for sticking around and hanging out while we play this game here in Roblox.
I'm Chef Ramsay, and this is Hell's Kitchen. Here, you'll go head-to-head against the greatest chefs on Roblox. I'll start by splitting you into two teams. These are your teams. Don't get too comfortable. Welcome to pre-service, your opportunity to demonstrate your culinary skills. This task is all about accuracy.
Okay, well, let's get to this and have some fun. A little competition and a little fun at the same time. Please hang out while I tell you this awesome story about someone named Jack called Jack's Fiery Dream, a Hell's Kitchen story. Once upon a time, in the small town of Maplewood, lived a boy named Jack who had two big dreams: to become a world-class chef and to meet the fiery culinary legend himself, Gordon Ramsay. Jack was no ordinary kid. While most children his age were busy playing video games or collecting baseball cards, Jack spent his time trying to perfect the perfect scrambled eggs. He'd stand on a stool in his kitchen, tongue poking out in concentration, whispering, "Yes, chef," to his reflection in the toaster. From an early age, Jack was fascinated by cooking shows, but nothing sparked his passion like Hell's Kitchen. He was utterly mesmerized by the intensity, the pressure, the drama, and of course, Gordon Ramsay's furious charisma. Jack would mimic him, yelling at his cat, Sir Whiskers, "This risotto is so undercooked,
what a
it's still
disaster."
telling bedtime stories." Sir Whiskers did not appreciate the comparison. As Jack grew up, so did his cooking skills. He experimented in the kitchen like a mad scientist. Chocolate lasagna,
You're so slow,
curry-stuffed
it's
donuts,
unbelievable.
even deep-fried spaghetti tacos. His parents were supportive and occasionally queasy, but Jack's passion never wavered. By the time he was in high school, he was known as the Kitchen Wizard and had a small online following for his chaotic, surprisingly delicious cooking videos titled "From Maplewood to Hell's Kitchen." Years went by, and Jack went on to culinary school, always keeping his ultimate dream in sight. Then, one rainy Tuesday afternoon, he got the call. A chipper casting director from Hell's Kitchen informed him that he'd been chosen as a contestant on the show's newest season. Jack fainted. His roommate thought he had seen a ghost. Welcome to Hell's Kitchen. On the first day of filming, Jack stepped into the legendary Hell's Kitchen.
Just the
It
top
smelled
performers
like
left.
ambition,
No pressure.
steak, and just a bit of burnt toast.
The winning
The
team
kitchen
is
gleamed. The pressure was
the blue
suffocating,
team.
and the competitors looked like they were ready to murder a souffle with a chainsaw. Then he walked in, Gordon Ramsay, as imposing as a thundercloud, as sharp as a fillet knife, and with a voice that could curdle milk. "Right," Ramsay barked. "You're not here to play patty cake. You're here to cook. And if you can't stand the heat, get out of my bloody kitchen." Jack, trying to appear confident, nodded firmly but accidentally knocked over a tray of carrots. It was a rough start. The rocky road to redemption. Jack's first week in Hell's Kitchen was, well,
It's time to leave.
hellish.
Log
He
off.
overcooked scallops, under-seasoned risotto, and once mistook a tub of
Where's
salt
the
for
lamb
sugar
sauce?
while
Where
making
is
dessert.
it?
Gordon was relentless. "This is so bland it's got less flavor than my accountant's personality." But Jack didn't quit. Even when Gordon shouted, even when the other chefs rolled their eyes, Jack stayed late, studied recipes, practiced until his hands were sore, and even talked to the lobsters in the tank for moral support. Then came meat night. Jack, through a series of chaotic events involving a broken thermometer and a rogue flame, managed to perfectly sear a filet mignon. Ramsay tried it, paused, and raised an eyebrow. "This is actually brilliant," he said, stunned. "Who cooked this?" Jack nervously raised his hand. Ramsay stared at him, then pointed his tongs. "You, don't mess it up." It wasn't quite praise, but it was more than Jack had gotten so far. He beamed, breaking through the fire. As the weeks went on, Jack got better. He learned to manage the pressure, communicate with his team, and even gotten a few cheeky jokes that made Gordon almost smile. Once, during dessert prep, Gordon snapped, "Why is this pastry cracked?" Jack, with a deadpan look, replied, "Because it heard you yelling from across the kitchen and got nervous." There was a pause. Then, Gordon chuckled. He chuckled. The kitchen fell silent. One sous chef dropped a spoon. From then on, something changed. Jack was still pushed, still yelled at when he messed up, but now there was a twinkle in Gordon's eye when he barked at him. Jack had cracked the code, not just cooking well, but having heart, humor, and the resilience to take the heat. He even started mentoring one of the struggling contestants, giving tips and encouragement. Jack had gone from the underdog to the glue of the team. The final dinner service. It was down to the final two. Jack had made it all the way. That night, Jack cooked like his life depended on it. His dishes were inventive,
You're about as slow as
comforting,
my grandma,
and bold.
and she's
He made a
dead.
seared duck breast with blackberry gastrique that nearly brought one of the judges to tears. When it was over, the doors opened. Jack held his breath.
Seriously?
Gordon
Brilliant
walked up,
work.
stared him down, then smiled. "You've got fire, Jack. Real fire. And more importantly, you've got heart. You remind me of me, minus the swearing and emotional trauma." Jack laughed, nearly crying. "Thank you, chef." A fiery future. Jack didn't win the title that season, but Gordon offered him a position in one of his restaurants anyway. Jack took it without hesitation. Years later, Jack became head chef of a new Gordon Ramsay bistro and even made guest appearances on Hell's Kitchen, this time as a mentor. He still teased Gordon sometimes, much to the horror of everyone around. "Careful, Jack," Gordon would mutter.
You need to speed
"You're
up.
on thin ice." "Yeah," Jack would grin, "but it's nicely
It's
seasoned."
so
And
raw,
somewhere in the
it's still
corner, Sir
mooing.
Whiskers, now a grumpy old cat, watched from Jack's custom chef jacket embroidery and probably thought, "Finally, someone else is getting yelled at for once." The end. Well, we hope
You're
you
mastering
enjoyed that
the
fun
art.
story about Jack and his dreams and his interactions with Gordon Ramsay. Stick around while we share another fun Hell's Kitchen story. Beth's blazing rise, from burnt beginnings to Hell's Kitchen legend. In a quiet town nestled somewhere between cornfields and coffee shops lived a woman named Beth Everly, who had a fire in her heart and a frying pan in her hand since the age of
Finally,
6.
you're
While
getting
other
it.
kids were learning how to ride bikes or play the recorder, Beth was in the kitchen with her grandmother flipping pancakes and pretending to host her own cooking show. Her audience, a teddy bear, a bowl of fruit, and a very judgmental-looking cat
You're way
named
too
Pickles.
slow.
But Beth wasn't just playing. She lived for food. She watched Hell's Kitchen religiously, her face mere inches from the TV screen, eyes wide
Well
as Gordon
done.
Ramsay
You've
hurled
reached the end.
insults,
Let's see how you
plates,
did.
and the occasional raw chicken
The
breast.
winning team is
And while others winced at his
the red
fury,
team.
Beth saw something else: passion, precision, and purpose. She wanted to be in that kitchen more than anything else in the world, so she made a promise to herself, right then and there, in her flour-covered apron at age 10. "One day, I'm going to cook next to Gordon Ramsay and survive it." A rocky start, fast forward 15 years. Beth had clawed her way through culinary school, worked at diners, food trucks, and anywhere she could get her hands dirty and her food plated. She sent in her Hell's Kitchen audition tape 5 years in a row. On the 6th,
Don't let
she
the
didn't even
door
expect
hit you
to
on
hear
the way
back,
out.
but she did. When the email came through, Beth screamed so loud she scared Pickles.
Go and rest
Yes,
until
the
it's
same
time for the
cat,
next round.
now crankier and possibly immortal. She was going to Hell's Kitchen. What she didn't know was that Hell's Kitchen was, well, hell. From the moment she stepped through the doors, Beth could feel the tension. The other chefs were intense, knife-sharp skills, eyes locked on the prize. Then, Gordon Ramsay entered the room like a hurricane in chef whites. "I don't care how good you think you are," he bellowed. "This kitchen will break you if you're not ready." Beth nodded like she understood, but she was not ready. Beth, burner of all things edible. The first week was catastrophic. Beth had a problem. She overcooked everything. Her chicken was dry, her fish was dry, her soup somehow ended up dry, and if it wasn't dry, it was burnt to a crisp. Her first risotto, black on the bottom. Her lamb, tougher than Gordon's insults. Her beef,
There you go. You're
Wellington,
getting
so overdone, Ramsay held it up with tongs and asked, "Did you cook this in the sun?" Beth cried. She cried in the walk-in fridge, over the prep counter, and once
I have to
while
say,
trying to
I'm
pipe
impressed,
mashed potatoes.
but only one team can
But
win.
she didn't quit.
The winning team
Every
is
night after service,
the blue
while
team.
others slept, Beth stayed behind
It's time for the lowest
practicing.
scorer
She
to leave
studied
Hell's
every
Kitchen.
recipe, every technique, even rewatched past seasons of Hell's Kitchen, pausing
Well,
every
somebody had to
time
go.
Gordon corrected someone's mistake. She burned things less, then stopped burning them altogether. Slowly, painfully, she started to get better. The turning point. The shift came on a rainy Tuesday during a seafood challenge. The pressure was high, tempers were hot, and Gordon was on the warpath. Beth was tasked with scallops, a dish she had previously destroyed with the consistency of erasers. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and channeled every tip she learned. Sear, flip, butter, baste, rest. When Gordon tasted her scallops, he didn't speak right away. He chewed, thoughtful, then looked at her. "Who cooked these?" Beth's hand shook slightly as she raised it. "These," he said, "are the first scallops I haven't wanted to throw across the kitchen." Finally. It wasn't exactly a compliment, but to Beth, it felt like a standing ovation. From that moment on, she was on fire, metaphorically this time. Her confidence soared. She started leading her team, correcting mistakes, and cracking the occasional joke that actually made Gordon Ramsay smirk. Once during dinner service, Ramsay barked, "Beth, your salmon better not be dry!" She shouted back, "If it is, you have my full permission to throw it at me." The kitchen gasped. Ramsay raised an eyebrow. "Noted," he said, and moved on, earning the chef's respect. What made Beth special wasn't that she became perfect. She didn't suddenly become some untouchable kitchen goddess. She still messed up, once accidentally served duck instead of chicken. Another time she plated two left sides of a steak. But what made her stand out was that she never gave up, never made excuses, never blamed others. She just kept grinding. Even Ramsay couldn't ignore that. One night, after a particularly grueling dinner service where Beth had saved the kitchen from falling apart after two teammates nearly came to blows over a risotto, Ramsay pulled her aside. "You've got guts, Beth. I've screamed at you. You've cried more than anyone in this kitchen. But you're still here, still pushing. That's what being a real chef means." Beth didn't cry that time. She just nodded and whispered, "Thank you, chef." The final
That
flame.
looks
Beth
amazing.
made it to the Hell's Kitchen finale. The final dinner
that
service
momentum.
was chaos incarnate, flames, yelling, sweating, and one point where someone actually caught a towel on fire, not Beth for once. Her menu was bold, emotional, and told the story of her journey.
Let's
Her
go!
signature dish was a honey-glazed duck breast with sweet potato mash and a burnt orange reduction, an intentional play on her former struggles with burning things. Ramsay tasted it, and to everyone's shock, actually smiled. "This," he said, "is the story of redemption, and it tastes bloody amazing." The legend of Beth Everly Beth won. She became the head chef of a new Gordon Ramsay restaurant in New York City, where her first act was to install a small sign above the pass that read, "Don't burn it unless it's on purpose." Gordon Ramsay often mentioned her in interviews as one of the most resilient chefs he'd ever trained. "Beth," he'd say, "she came in burning everything
Top
and
of the
crying in the
class.
corner. Now she's one of the toughest, most passionate chefs I've ever had the pleasure of yelling at." And to this day, if you visit her restaurant, you might catch her laughing with her team, cracking a joke
They're
about
loving your food.
Gordon's insults, or pausing for a moment before sending out a perfect plate of scallops. And if you look closely, you'll see a tiny, grumpy old cat embroidered on her chef's coat. Pickles, her first culinary critic. The end.
Great technique. really are nailing this challenge. Time's up. Scores on the doors. The winning team is the red team. It's time for the lowest scorer to leave Hell's Kitchen.